Hello guys, Ancient Gameplays, I'm Fabio Pisco and welcome to my channel. And just before starting this video I have to confess one thing. For years and years I actually thought that Radeon anti-lag was useless. But some months ago I actually had some scenarios in, for example, games using ray tracing like Crysis 2, where the card would have lots of stutters and when using Radeon anti-lag the stutters would go away. Same for example the RX 6750 XT running Callisto Protocol, where it has lots of stutters normally, but as soon as you use Radeon anti-lag, the frame time is just much better, okay? And these are just one of the few things that I actually noticed. So my opinion was already starting to change, and now with the Adrenalin 23.9.2 drivers actually adding the option to see the system latency in real time, because you're actually able in real time to change in between anti-lag off, anti-lag and anti-lag plus. And you can actually see the system latency in the top left corner, and you can see that it does make a difference. But I must tell you that when I tested this, whoa! And by the way, with the 23.9.2 drivers, video that I'm also working on at the same time I'm recording this, not at the same time, but let's say in parallel while I'm recording this, they also have the anti-lag plus support for Starfield, Witcher 3, Elden Ring and Immortals of Aveum. And I actually tested right away in Witcher 3 and I could tell the difference, like right away, easy. So let's go into it right after a short word from our sponsor. Today's video sponsor is GVG Mode, bringing you all the software deals you need, like Windows 10, Windows 11, Office 2021 with a new Windows 11 design, and even Windows Server 2022. For all of these, you can use my SKG discount code for 25% off, getting a Windows 10 serial key for only $16. Then use the key on your Windows settings, and you'll have an activated system. And well, just don't forget that in order to watch the Radeon anti-lag off, normal and plus in real time, you actually have to go to the game that supports anti-lag plus, let's say for example The Witcher. Just go to the gaming tab, open the game and enable the anti-lag and anti-lag plus. I'm going to do that by the way on Starfield already. So for example Starfield, you open the game, then you go to the anti-lag option, anti-lag, and somehow it does not enable the anti-lag plus. Although it says it is supported, but it does not enable anti-lag plus. Well, at least in Immortals of Aveum, it actually supports the anti-lag plus, so that's a good thing, I believe. Now we're running Witcher 3 at 85 FPS, so nothing spectacular, although, but we're running at 80 FPS and the graphical settings are basically Ultra Plus, running FSR2 quality mode, no ray tracing for now, of course, and we have everything set, even the airworks are enabled and everything set, so as you can see, airworks and everything set to Ultra Plus, okay, so basically max settings with FSR2 quality mode without, once again, ray tracing. What you have to do is actually press Alt, Shift and L buttons, okay, 1, as you can see, 2, 3, 4. You press 4 times and you can actually see the milliseconds there and the frames per second regarding those milliseconds. I don't really know what the frames are exactly, maybe the frames that it can actually generate or the frames that, I don't really know, I won't speculate, but the system latency is there, 24 milliseconds, okay? And this is with Radeon anti-lag plus. As soon as you hold the delete key, as you can see, it raises because we actually switched in between the anti-lag plus and the normal anti-lag. As you can see, there is a difference. And as soon as I press the control button, it goes to anti-lag off. And with anti-lag off, we have 65 milliseconds. Okay, and I'm moving the camera. Yeah, okay, 64 milliseconds. As I hold the delete key, we go down to 45 milliseconds. And I can already feel the difference, a bit of difference, yeah, definitely. And as I release the delete key, it goes with Radeon anti-lag plus, bam, down to 25 milliseconds. So from 45 milliseconds to 25 milliseconds. Yeah, 20 milliseconds difference. It's a lot, almost double the, almost half with Radeon anti-lag plus versus anti-lag. And damn, I can so tell the difference. It's so damn responsive at 20 milliseconds. It's very responsive. okay? As soon as I hold disable anti-lag plus and go to anti-lag, to normal anti-lag, it is still okay, but I kind of feel that the mouse is heavier because it has more latency. It's heavier. And as soon as we go to Radeon anti-lag off, we go up to 70 milliseconds of system latency. And damn, I can so tell the difference, man. The mouse feels a lot heavier, and I can actually tell the difference. So much heavier. As soon as I disable and go to anti-lag plus, once again. Oh, Jesus. It's such a big difference. It's such a big difference. You need to try this for yourself. Just go into the game that supports anti-lag plus if your GPU is a 7000 series, because once again, this is only for the RX 7000 series, at least for now. They can actually, anti-lag plus actually takes advantage of the way that the 7000 series work in order to make it go further. And man, the difference is so big. So responsive. Even at 80 FPS, the responsiveness is very high. As soon as I disable the anti-lag, I just can tell the difference. It's so easy to tell the difference. It's like the mouse is heavier. I don't really know how to explain less responsive. As soon as, once again, Radeon anti-lag. Yeah, it's much faster. It's like the mouse was lighter. Damn.
You're teasing me, you naughty.
As soon as we go, for example, and we enable ray tracing, making the performance go lower, the lower the FPS numbers, the higher the system latency will be. As we can see, for example, at 60 FPS, we have 35 milliseconds, even with Radeon anti-lag. And the lower the FPS, the bigger difference it will be. For example, 35, with the normal anti-lag, it goes to 61, 62, and without Radeon anti-lag, it goes to 90 milliseconds of system latency. And for example, yeah, the mouse does feel heavy. I can it is just so heavy at 60 FPS. I can tell the difference. I can tell the latency. I mean, it's 90 milliseconds. As soon as I enable the anti-lag plus and it goes down to 35, definitely, it's really, I can tell the difference right away. Indeed, huge difference. Okay, now in Immortals of Aveum, and as you can see, we're already running anti-lag, and we're running high settings with ultra textures, as you can see, ultra textures with high settings everywhere. And we're running at 80, 82 FPS, as you can see, sorry, we're running the anti-lag plus at 30 milliseconds, okay? The system, although it is 90 FPS, it is, okay, pretty nice in terms of responsiveness. As we go from anti-lag plus to anti-lag, the latency goes to 32, so not a big difference, okay? So we're talking about 24 with anti-lag plus, 32 with the anti-lag, the normal anti-lag, so anti-lag does a pretty good job here already. And as we go to no anti-lag option, yeah, the difference is also pretty small, 34, 33, and 25. Basically, the difference in between anti-lag off and anti-lag on, sorry, it's like 10 milliseconds, at least here, because we're running at higher FPS numbers. And like I told you, the biggest difference is when you're actually running at lower FPS numbers. So as we go into 80, once again, anti-lag plus 26, with the normal anti-lag 37, and without anti-lag 40 milliseconds. So 40 milliseconds is still pretty responsive, not gonna lie to you. It's still okay. Okay. As soon as we go to 25, yeah, it's I don't really know why. I mean, 40 milliseconds is okay. Definitely responsive. Definitely. But 20 milliseconds is just more responsive, even more. I can tell the difference. It's not as big as with Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 was a big difference, definitely a big difference. But I can tell the difference in between the anti-lag plus and no anti-lag at all here. I can do it. And now in Starfield, AMD did say that the Radeon Anti-Lag Plus was working, and although the software says that just anti-lag is enabled, Radeon Anti-Lag Plus is enabled. If you look at the top left corner, for example, once again, this is the responsiveness with the Radeon. Sorry about that. This is the responsiveness with Radeon Anti-Lag Plus enabled. So 34 milliseconds. As soon, for example, as I press and hold the delete button, it goes to 44. This is the normal anti-lag. So the normal anti-lag to the anti-lag plus, it goes to from 44 milliseconds to 34 milliseconds. So a 10 milliseconds difference, not really that much. As soon as we disable the anti-lag, we go to 55 milliseconds. So from no anti-lag to anti-lag plus, we go from 55, more or less 52, 53, okay, to 35, 36. So the difference is there. Let me just see if I can feel it, because sometimes I can't due to the game engine, for example. Okay, pretty responsive. Going to anti-lag plus. I guess that it is kind of bugged because I can't really tell the difference. 55 milliseconds. Bam, 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 bam. Pretty responsive already. Radeon Anti-Lag Plus. Okay, it's a bit more responsive. Nothing astonishing though. I noticed way more in the other titles. In here, it is just not as responsive. Although we need to we need to take in consideration that, for example, if you look at the frame time graph on the right top corner, you can see, for example, this is with the Radeon Anti-Lag Plus. Now, just watch with the normal Radeon Anti-Lag. Look at it. So the frame time is now much better. It's much more stable with the normal anti-lag. We do have more. We do have a bit more system latency, definitely. But the frame timeline is much better, and the game just feels a bit better overall. Definitely. As soon as we enable anti-lag plus once again, we go from 47 to 37. So once again, 10 milliseconds less, but look at the frame timeline once again. Instead of being flat, it is now with lots of ups and downs. Thing that shouldn't be happening, meaning that anti-lag plus is not working properly yet still on this title. So in Starfield, you're better just using the normal Radeon anti-lag, the normal one, as you can see. As soon as I pressed and hold the delete button, we got a flat line. The normal Radeon anti-lag is definitely the way to go. Although you have more latency than the anti-lag plus, it seems like anti-lag plus is still a bit bugged, at least with the 7700 XT. And of course, the frame timeline is much worse than it should be. Although, once again, as soon as you enable the normal anti-lag, we get a flat line in terms of FPS, in terms of frame times. That's what I wanted to say. Not a flat line, of course, all the times, but most of the times it is a flat line and just looks much better and just feels much better than with the normal anti-lag plus. Odd, but it is what it is. Let's hope that AMD fixes this, as soon as possible. So now with the final game, which is Dying Light 2, and I already moved around, and we have some stutters that weren't supposed to happen at least. They didn't happen before. Maybe once again the shader cache is loading, I don't really know. But let's press Alt, Shift and L. Bam, 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 bam. And now we have the latency measurement, which is actually nice. 25 milliseconds at 86, 85. Oh, and there's another stutter. Bam. Oh, come on. Seriously. That's... How do I turn on the flashlight? Okay. So for example, we're running with anti-lag plus, and although we have some stutters here and there, I don't really know why, but we usually have a flat line, okay, and the game does feel responsive. I mean, it's 25 milliseconds. With a flat line, the game does feel responsive. As soon as we go to the normal anti-lag, we go up 10 milliseconds from 25 to 33, 34, well, 9 milliseconds, more or less. The difference is not really noticeable, nothing that I can notice. Once again, flat line, more or less. Yeah. The game is, by the way, running at ultra settings, maximum settings without ray tracing. Okay. It is running more or less fine. As soon as I go without any kind of anti-lag, it goes from 35 to 43. So the difference is not much really. We're going at 80 FPS, but without the anti-lag I can notice the difference. Yeah, I mean it is still responsive, but the difference is there. As soon as I go to anti-lag plus, yeah, the mouse just feels much lighter, much lighter. Damn, that's insane. That's really good. So now for the final test, because I actually stopped this because the camera was dying in terms of battery. It is now connected to the computer, doesn't really matter. But for the final test, what I did was basically use ray tracing, so the settings are to maximum, ray tracing at ultra settings, and on top of that I actually enabled FSR2 to make sure to bring the most latency that we could. So with ray tracing the frames will be lower, and at the same time let's enable that, and at the same time basically I need, yes, this one, and at the same time once again we're going to have more latency due to the upscaling of FSR2. So it's both ways more latency, so we actually need to, come on, just leave me be, Jesus Christ, in the legs. Yeah, so basically more latency from both sides. As we 37 milliseconds. As soon as we go to the normal anti-lag, we go from 37 to 52, so it's already a big difference because we're running 57 average FPS. And now going without any kind of anti-lag, we go from 51 to 62. So going from no anti-lag at all, we go from 63 milliseconds to 37 milliseconds. Yeah, but it's much more responsive with the yeah, definitely. It's much more responsive. And here we are. Bam. 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 Okay. It's much more responsive with anti-lag. With anti-lag activated. So it's also just die. So once again we're talking of boom. We're talking of 37 milliseconds with Radeon Anti-Lag Plus. Once again, 64 milliseconds without Radeon Anti-Lag. 48 milliseconds with Radeon Anti-Lag on, the normal one. And 35 with Anti-Lag Plus. And it even at 60 FPS, it feels very responsive because we're like 34 milliseconds, so it feels very, very responsive. Definitely a good thing. Even once again with ray tracing and FSR, it does feel responsive. But definitely the game that I could notice the most was The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 was a major difference in terms of system latency, of input latency. I could definitely notice a huge difference in between the Radeon Anti-Lag Plus and no anti-lag at all. It's just a huge difference. Yeah. And yeah guys, basically that's it. It's just me testing the Radeon Anti-Lag Plus, showing you the Radeon Anti-Lag Plus and how it works. And this new feature of the AMD Adrenalin software is actually pretty interesting. As you can see the latency, you can see the latency with the Radeon Anti-Lag, with the Radeon Anti-Lag Plus, and without any anti-lag. So once again, this is a very good feature introduced on the 7000 series cards, at least on the 7000 series cards with the Anti-Lag Plus, and it works very well with my 7700 XT. We can actually see the system latency in real time, and that's a really awesome feature in my opinion. Really awesome feature. And once again, the conclusion, Anti-Lag Plus is definitely a thing, and you can use it in games that are prepared to use it. Basically, Dying Light 2, Starfield doesn't work that well, so with Starfield, it seems that the software is kind of bugged, although AMD says it supports Radeon Anti-Lag Plus, and it does, but the frame timeline is kind of worse with the Anti-Lag Plus. It's better just to use the normal Radeon Anti-Lag. As for, once again, as for the Dying Light 2 and The Witcher 3, the difference is big. In terms of normal latency and even in terms of Radeon Anti-Lag and Anti-Lag Plus, the difference is big. So in most games, you want to use the Radeon Anti-Lag Plus like Fortnite and so on. It's a very, very good feature. Can't lie. And well guys, that's all for this video. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to leave your comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think about the Radeon Anti-Lag Plus if you have a 7000 series, and even the normal Radeon Anti-Lag if you have an older GPU. Just let me know what you think about them, and if you're gonna use them or if you already did, just let me know in the comment section, because I'm really interested to know. Jesus. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next video, guys. Cheers.